Greetings again from Kiwiland, SqueeFPV here. Today I'm flying the Eachine Tyro79 again. I've fixed up the runaway fail-safing problems from yesterday. Turns out, stuffing around with reversible mode in the ESC firmware and forgetting to put it back is unwise. I put the motors back in normal mode and now the flight controller isn't laughing at me every time I advance the throttle. Today's flight is where I discover something else stupid I did. Apparently I managed to select 3 different flight modes for my mode switch, but none of them were true Acro. That's right, this crash isn't my fault at the sticks, it's my fault at the computer. The crash also exposed one of Tyro79's weaknesses. There's only one screw on each side holding the camera in place, so when you crash, you're definitely going to stuff up the camera up tilt. Here, you see the bottom of my quad, thanks to the camera pointing nearly straight down. Worst of all, the screws holding the camera actually came completely out, so now it's just the frame tension holding the camera in place. It's firm enough to hold in flight, but pretty much any landing's now enough to change the up tilt and make life difficult. So now with what looks like Acro trainer mode instead of true Acro, at least I can try out the rates. With the up tilt pretty much randomly set, it's pretty hard to do a decent flight, but at least the time in the simulator paid off and I can still control this little bugger pretty well. Problem is, I'm still using the stock props, so along with the lack of screws and up tilt problems, the camera feeds pull a wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Having a slightly unsecured load up front's probably doing no favours to the tunes, such as it is, either. Now, I don't know if you noticed here, and I sure didn't at the time, but the props are now at the top of the frame. Somehow I managed not to immediately stack it into the dirt on this launch, but to say this was an uncomfortable flight experience would be a bit of an understatement. My first instinct was to punch the throttle to give myself time to think, and then tried to put it down as softly as I could, and ended up doing the walk of shame to fix the camera. So, up again, with the camera tilt fixed, or so I thought. The up tilt was so low I felt like I was flying through treacle. Remind me to carry my toolkit and spare screws on the next time. I decided to just try for some slow and stable flight, so I flew over to the car to show off the quad to the kids. The Tyro79 is actually a pretty well behaved little beast when you ask it nicely, and this was probably the most fun part of my flight today. Now the wobbly camera feed was a bit punishing here, so it was hard to see when I started climbing and descending, so altitude control was tough, but still no great dramas. So then I had a train nearby, and decided to pop up and try and see it. Before I realised that the camera was pretty much a potato at this point, so it wasn't worth the try. I flew back instead to have another go at fixing this up tilt. This really wasn't my smoothest landing. Now, this time I didn't notice I'd bent a prop, and I was so distracted by the shaking I bumped back into the ground, which tilted the camera back down into a down tilt again. Changing to a completely stuffed camera angle in flight was about as alarming as you'd think it'd be, and distracting as hell, so I decided to end it for the day there, but first I had to land and not on top of myself, so at this point I could barely see anything, and the DVR really doesn't do it justice, but I got it down slowly and bloody carefully, but the stupid thing is, it turns out this was actually my best landing today. Anyway, once I landed, I was off to fix up the camera, and today maybe I'll drill some extra holes to prop it up at an angle I can live with, charge the battery, wait for my new polycarb props to arrive, and rip around again tomorrow. Peace.